Essays. At this point in your respective academic careers, you have no doubt composed a significant number of essays. It is a form of writing that has shaped your thinking about your learning. But have you ever wondered where that word essay comes from? Before the publication in 1580 of the first edition of the book Essays by Michel de Montaigne, essay was mostly used as a verb. From the French word essayer, it means to attempt or to try out. As in this mini lesson, I will essay to explain the profound influence of Montaigne on the development of the form of creative nonfiction, now known as the personal essay. After the publication of Montaigne's essays, essay has been mostly used as a noun. Whether or not we have ever attempted to put it into words, we understand to mean a short piece of personal and exploratory writing. As in my essay, I will explore the profound influence Montaigne has had on us as writers and as thinkers, even if we have never read his essays. Because that impulse to explore a topic from a personal perspective remains at the heart of the essay as we know it today, almost 450 years after Montaigne's masterpiece essays changed the face of world literature. That was my first attempt at expressing that. Perhaps I should instead say that it changed the faces of world literature, because Montaigne pioneered a new tradition in which writers are not invisible, but visible in their writing. Very visible, in fact. In his note to the reader at the start of Essays, Montaigne announced, "Reader, I myself am the subject of my book," before adding, with characteristic humor and modesty, "It is not reasonable that you should employ your leisure on a topic so frivolous and so vain." Montaigne's choice of subject, that is, himself, was based on two important notions. The first notion was that his self was the only subject on which he was the world's foremost expert. As he wrote in On Repenting, which is perhaps my favorite of his essays, "Never did man treat a subject which he knew or understood better than I know and understand the subject which I have undertaken. In that subject, I am the most learned man alive." The second notion was that if he could paint a portrait with words of one human, himself, he could capture simultaneously some universal understandings about all of humanity. As Montaigne expressed it in the same essay, every man bears the whole form of the human creation. However, what Montaigne discovered was that his self was difficult to capture because he was, as we all are, constantly changing, in part because of the reading and writing that was so much a part of his retirement and are so much a part of our learning. He expresses that realization again in On Repenting. "I am not portraying being, but becoming." And because Montaigne's self continued to change, so did his understandings about human nature that he was attempting to communicate through his essays. Montaigne published 3 editions during his life and was still revising them at the time of his death in 1892. A new edition was published 3 years after that, incorporating his last additions and changes. While you will likely stop revising the essays you write for this class at Cerritos College long before the end of your lives, Montaigne's example of revising and revising and revising is a reminder that what we attempt when we write personal essays are two difficult tasks that tend to demand multiple drafts. When we write creative nonfiction, we attempt to not only report the facts of our experiences, but also to interpret their meanings. Another exceptional example Montaigne set for writers of personal essays is the honesty with which he talks about his subject, that is, himself. At the start of On Repenting, he wrote, "Others form man. I give an account of man and sketch a picture of a particular one of them who is very badly formed, and whom I would truly make very different from what he is if I had to fashion him afresh. But it is done now. The brushstrokes of my portrait do not go awry, even though they do change and vary." So, this has been my essay, my attempt to explain the profound influence of Montaigne on the development of the essay, a form of writing that has shaped our thinking. I hope reading excerpts from his essays, one of the true masterpieces of world literature, will only deepen that influence on your thinking and your writing.